Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, of course, if you are listening to me live right now on LinkedIn or on YouTube. Welcome. Welcome to this live stream about defeatism, which is very difficult to pronounce for me. But first of all, I'm Virginia. I am the owner and founder of Green Gorilla Consultants Ltd. I'm also a lecturer at Coventry University on sustainability and environmental management, and I haven't done, and I'm the author of this book, Sustainable, How to Find Success as a Sustainability Professional in a Rapidly Changing World. I haven't done one of these lives for a while, so I feel a bit rusty, but I thought I'll jump in quite quickly. I decided to do this yesterday because of the headlines that I've read this week about Greta Thunberg saying that she doesn't believe COP26 will make a difference. You know, the world leaders have been talking a lot, not doing much, which is of course right. You know, she's right now. So before I start and jump into what I want to say and my view on this, I would love you, if you're listening to me right now, to please pop in the chat who you are, and let's introduce you, and but also I would like this to be a bit of a dialogue, not just me talking, because that's, I don't have all the solutions. I have my ideas, but I don't have all the solutions. So I think the more we come together to find common ground, the better we're gonna fight the climate crisis. So I was saying, I read about Greta feeling defeated effectively, or at least saying, she doesn't believe COP26 is going to make a difference unless there is a massive push from the outside. That's the words, more or less she used. Now, I can imagine in a position, but actually in everyone's position, it's very difficult to keep positive. Doom and gloom is all around us every day almost. We got headlines that are really quite catastrophic about the climate crisis and glacier melting and the rest, that I don't need to tell you. What happened last summer with super high temperatures and wildfires, even in Europe, where we haven't seen, these things at this scale yet, but they are starting now. So it's very difficult to keep positive, that's for sure. Now, at the same time, I am going to Coventry a couple of times a week, and because it's a long journey commuting there, I started listening to audiobooks. I actually prefer to read books, but audiobooks are, a new discovery for me since I'm doing something else, so I might as well listen to an audiobook. And I'm listening to Christiana Figueres' The Future We Choose, which I knew about and I've talked about before in one of these lives, and I've read the headlines, the headlines before, and the main, the index and everything bits of it, but never, front to back. So I am listening to this, and it's such a discovery. It really is, because Christiana Figueres, if you don't know who she was, or she is, sorry, she was the orchestrator, the main negotiator of the Paris Agreement in 2015. And I didn't know this, but she started the negotiation feeling quite defeated. She felt that actually it was impossible to find an agreement that over 170 countries would sign. But then she realized that that wasn't the right attitude. Yes, it was difficult, but not impossible, simply because theoretically nothing is impossible. We always have a choice, and it starts from us. Now, I know that it sounds a bit la la land when you say that, and maybe, happy-go-lucky or whatever you want to call it. But Christiana Figueres realized that her attitude wasn't going to have a positive outcome anyway, if it was defeatism, effectively. Well, if she's at least tried and put all her efforts into making that negotiation go towards a positive goal, then she might have had the possibility. And in fact, she managed to. Whether the climate has changed, well, or the results of the Paris Agreement has gone in the right direction. Well, this is being, this is to debate in a way. But the concept is, if you start in a losing position, you're not going to win. If you start by saying, we're not going to win, we're not going to win. I know that some people prefer to do that because it's scary to be positive. It's scary to be optimistic. But optimism doesn't have to be silliness, doesn't have to be, again, happy-go-lucky. It's just about giving the future, or a better future, a chance. So that's why I like that book, because it gives two completely different scenarios. Where one that is, where the world is heading, which is quite negative, and we're suffering from the consequences of severe climate change. The other one is a positive one, or a more positive one, not like a silly everything is gone perfectly well, but we are adapting and we've changed the way we see things, and we started now. So that's the thing. We need to start now with a different attitude, because defeatism doesn't lead to anything positive. And the other thing that Christiana Figueres said is, we have what it takes. We've reached a space. I mean, there is a lot of space traveling right now that we're talking about, and the news and everything. I like Prince William taking his stance a couple of days ago, yesterday, about whether, the great minds of this earth should really focus on solving the climate crisis rather than putting their effort into space. But I don't know enough about space, and whether, space tourism doesn't seem reasonable to me at this stage, but maybe he's helpful to find out some solutions. I don't know enough about that, but I do think great minds should be put into solving the climate crisis. The thing is, we've done incredible things. We have defeated lots of illnesses. We have managed to prosper as, the human community. We can do this. We have the solutions. Now, to the students of Coventry University, we're going to show in a couple of weeks' time during COP26 a movie called 2040. If we haven't seen it, please do and see it. Go and watch it, because it's quite illuminating, simple, not from a technical point of view, but it shows an alternative way the future could go if we adopted the solutions that we have right now. We have most of the solutions right now. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second to read the comments. So Vasilis is saying, excellent podcast. Oh, thank you. What do you stand between outrage and optimism? Well, outrage is important, because without that push, we're not going to be motivated to do much. So we need to be shocked in a way. We need to really have that push. However, optimism is what motivates you in the long run, because otherwise you burn out. Otherwise you feel defeated. And you can see what Greta is thinking right now. She doesn't believe that things are going to change, at least at the moment. Plus, I think we have, we are in an unfair position right now. Government and businesses have, of course, the biggest chunk of responsibility in a way. Governments can make laws that they can actually impose through legislation what we need to do. And theoretically, they could say, look, in 5 years' time, we don't want any fossil fuel at all, to use any fossil fuels at all. They're not doing that. But they could impose a ban like they did with CFCs in the 80s, in the 90s, to, that actually changed the quality of the ozone layer. They banned it across countries, and the ozone layer recovered a bit from that. They could do the same with fossil fuels. They could say, okay, let's stop fossil fuels. Of course, you need a little bit of time to do that. But at the moment, there is very little in terms of legislations or regulations that actually ban the things that should be banned to make things better. So Greta, in that sense, is right. Governments have that responsibility. They're not doing it. Businesses, especially big businesses, also have a massive responsibility, and unfortunately, especially fossil fuel companies are lobbying governments to continue the subsidized, system, so that fossil fuels are still cheap, where in fact there is a price to them which is massive, and they're not paying that. We're not paying that at the moment. The industry need to change, not in a way that I think at this stage it's impossible to eliminate capitalism, but there must be another way of thriving, not necessarily growing infinitely like we're trying to do. So governments and businesses have a massive responsibility, but we have been made, individuals, we've been made responsible or feeling guilty for carrying out our lives and do what we've been told to do, in a way, right? Imposed and brainwashed by publicity and marketing to do things that are actually against the logic. So, and contributing to the climate. Now, I think individuals have a great responsibility, and is in the choices we make every day, for sure. As a collective, of course, we are contributing, but we could have a positive impact instead, because we make choices every day. We buy stuff. We have the choice not to buy as much stuff. We have the choice to buy sustainable products, and the more we do that, the less it's going to cost, because companies are going to invest in more sustainability and more sustainable products. So we do vote with our money. We could put our money into banks that don't invest in fossil fuels, for example. We have that power as consumers, definitely. We also have the power to lobby the government, to support companies and groups that are doing a lot of the lobbying for us. So there are lots and lots of things that individuals can do, but the thing is, we cannot succumb. We cannot succumb to defeatism. We cannot start, a fight putting our weapons down. The other thing we need to be aware of is that we have limited responsibility. Like I was saying before, we've been made to feel guilty for, industry and government's mistakes. So the only thing that what I'm getting to is that I would like everyone to know what our individual responsibilities are. For me, as I said, individuals can vote with their money, individuals can lobby, individuals can model a behavior that is in line with their values, and others can imitate, or, you can educate others through your own behavior in your own life and the way you do things. But that's it. That's it. Feeling defeated, feeling responsible for everything that is happening is not conducive to anything changing for the positive. The other thing is, and I've been seeing this when I coach people, lots of people really feel that guilt, really feel that need to tell everybody that we are in a collapsing system and everything is catastrophic, which I'm not saying is not true. Of course I'm not. I know we are in trouble, but at the same time, it depends on where you focus your attention. If we focus on the things that are actually changing for the positive, for example, over half of the UK energy is now produced via renewable energy sources. That was for very different scenarios 10 years ago. So things are changing, maybe not at the pace that we need, but things are changing. So if we focus on the positive, that might foster others to join. Because, for example, I was reading some headlines this week. So one was, the UK must adapt or die, as climate change experts warn floods could kill hundreds. Okay. The other one was, we can all take small steps towards sustainability in fashion, and here is how. Have you noticed how marketing messages usually have a how? Yeah. How to change your life in 7 easy steps. How to, embrace a change painlessly. The thing is, marketing experts know that you need to demonstrate a feasible small step path for people to take it. People are more inclined to read messages when there is a how that is easy enough to implement than to engage with a catastrophic message like UK must adapt or die. That is definitely good to start with, to be aware that things can change and need to change. But in order to sustain your energy to fight the climate fight, to do what you can as an individual, maybe as a business owner, etc., you need that positivity. You need sustained energy. You need small steps to take one after the other. I'm pretty convinced about that, because if you think about the two headlines, how do they make you feel? The first one is just scary and you don't know what to do. In the second one, yes, it might be small steps, but at least, I would open that article and read it and say, okay, maybe I can do something about sustainable fashion. Okay. Now, what ideas do you have around this? Because again, I would love to hear whether you have some ideas around this that we can all share. For me, it's as much as about building momentum, even if it's just starting with small steps, that can, create an avalanche of action, rather than shocking people and bringing everyone into despair. So one of the suggestions I have, what you want to, put some comments in the chat, is to keep on a mental diet. So focus on things that are changing in a positive way to keep your mental health in shape. Liaise, for example, with like-minded individuals and businesses so that you can feel the strength of the group, not feeling lonely and isolated. Because, often it's very difficult to communicate these messages, even to your own family. So if you find like-minded individuals that are on your same, wavelength, by any means, group together, talk about it, see what actions you can take. Vote with your money, like I said before. Support those that actively seek a better world. Friends of the Earth, Extinction Rebellion, you choose. They're all doing great work. So Kate is saying, Paul Norrington, this made me think of what we were discussing on Tuesday about how to engage people and behavior change in general, the importance of how to. Absolutely. I think if you just shock people, but you don't tell them what to do, nothing will change. It will just create more panic. And it's like when last 2 weeks ago, the big fossil fuel company said, oh, we're running out of lorry drivers to deliver petrol to the petrol stations. What happened? It was, it's a crisis. And what happened? People started panicking. People started panic buying when there was an actual shortage of fuel, was shortage of drivers. But if everyone was just doing their own little bits, we wouldn't have run out of petrol in the petrol stations or queued for hours to get petrol. So that's the thing. Catastrophic messages don't reach, audiences. They don't move people to do anything. And, I'm preparing a speech that I'm going to give on Thursday next week, because I'm quite nervous about that, because that's my first keynote speech for an award ceremony locally here in Hertfordshire. One of the things I'm focusing on is how to communicate sustainability in a way that actually inspires people. Because again, nobody wants to be the bearer of bad news, but we all do it. And when that happens, people switch off. That's it. It's like when you push somebody and they push back. That's exactly what happens. Well, if you try and understand who you got in front of you, and depending very much on the audience that you're speaking to, you can try and understand what interests they have. What do they care about? Do they have children? Do they have pets? What are their hobbies? And see how sustainability or the sustainability message can be delivered through that. So try and inspire them to do better for their children, for their pets, for the, you know, for the hobbies, you know, if they want to travel, okay, how can you travel in a more sustainable way? Because, you know, if we keep on doing this, you're not going to have anywhere to travel safely, because the temperatures, I don't know, in hot countries would be unbearable. So really try and link with the person you got in front of you. Start with the small steps as well. You can't expect people to change completely from one day to the next day. It's just impossible. So small steps in, you know, will help, in the hope that that will create enough momentum, enough people to actually create a movement. And it is happening. It is happening. We've seen it with Greta Thunberg when they started, you know, she started campaigning 3 years ago. We saw with Extinction Rebellion coming into place, and all of this, and all the technology changes that we've seen recently. But the thing is that we have the solutions, guys. I know it's hard to believe, but a lot of it is also down to companies like fossil fuels companies not wanting us to do anything. If we are frozen, if people with knowledge and passion for sustainability don't do anything, they win. Do you know what I mean? Actually, there is a whole campaign going around, and I'm not trying to be, you know, it's not like a conspiracy theory. This is the same techniques that the tobacco industry used years ago to convince people that that tobacco wasn't so bad. Thing is that they put doubts in your mouth, in your mind, and then, or they tell you, or they make you think it's too late anyway. You might as well enjoy your life and waste as much, you know, fossil fuels as you can. Thing is, it's a deliberate campaign to stop us from doing anything. Now, we don't want to do that. Well, hopefully, we don't want to be defeatists, if that's a word, or defeated, or feel defeated. We need to keep the courage up to actually fight the fight, to do what we can as individuals, as businesses, as people that vote, and they can vote for the right politicians that will make the right laws to come into force for things to really change. Okay, so reading what Kate said here, we're realizing as a local network of climate action groups that we're so often preaching to the converted, and have been discussing how best to get the others involved, how to inspire people, as you say. I know, I often preach to the converted. I bet people that are listening to me right now already know what I'm saying. But I realize my role, or, you know, my mission is really to empower people that already know about the value of sustainability and help them to communicate that message better. And unless you come out of your brain and get into other people's brain, unless you really speak your audience's language, unless you focus on them and what they need and what they want, what their fears are, what their desires are, you cannot sell them sustainability. Sustainability is something that needs to be sold to people in a way that makes sense for them. What's in it for them? That's the main thing. Okay. Vasily says, so shouldn't we know our enemy without sugarcoating around the edges so that our responsive actions can pressure have the right magnitude? Can catastrophic messages and images activate our survival instinct? Sure, it depends on the audience, but sugarcoating since the 70s have not led us. We're in a climate emergency. And I totally agree with you, Vasilis, but how many people have you converted by using catastrophic language? I know that the majority of people would just shut completely down and won't listen to you if you use that sort of language. And I know that we are in a climate crisis, and it's not about sugarcoating, it's about taking small steps. It's like asking a child to start running before they walk. You can't do that. That's my hope, is by having more people coming into, you know, sort of believing in our cause, little by little, we will create that momentum that will push governments and businesses to do the right thing. Again, individuals by themselves as individuals don't make a massive difference. They do when they become a force, when they become a mass, when they become a community. Okay. The thing is also another element in this is that COVID made us realize a lot of things, I believe. COVID gave us a common cause to fight against, and it was very visible. It was a danger that was immediate. But we can't wait for the climate crisis to become a danger that is right in our face. It's like terrorism. When a big act of terrorism happens, like 9/11, people come together. When COVID happens, people come together. Thing is, the climate crisis is still too remote for people to actually come together yet. So the only thing we can do until, and we hope, of course, is not going to be necessary to come together because the crisis has become immediately too big, yeah, and it's actually destroying us. We need to instruct people, educate people. Again, it's like helping a child to grow at their own pace. You cannot impose things like this or being catastrophic, because again, I mean, it depends. Some people might be moved by the catastrophic element, but they will always be led by fear, and fear doesn't make you think straight. Fear doesn't make you do things in a way that is rational. And we need our mental health, we need rationality, we need all our mental power to actually do the right thing in the right way. If we are moved by fear, we might do the wrong thing. We might become, it's like, for example, people gluing themselves on the motorway. Great idea. But what did they do? I don't know many people they actually converted by disrupting their days and and stopping them from going to work. Some people said, oh, my mother died because I couldn't reach the hospital in time. Are they going to be converted to the climate crisis mission? Probably not. There might be one or two that do, but the majority of people need to be introduced to these things gradually. They need to see what's in it for them. They need to see why. And at the moment, they don't see it. It's not as in front of their faces as it is for me or you. Okay? I would say one size doesn't fit all. So it's always good to understand your audience. Depending on who you got in front of you, you might use different techniques. For some people, fear will do. For the majority of people, in my experience, it absolutely doesn't. But do they want to save money? Okay, sustainability can save you money, and I'll show you how. Do you want to, as a company, for example, do you want to acquire more customers or to enhance your reputation? Sustainability can do that for you, and I'll show you how. Is that can-do attitude, to me, that can change things truly. And if you do it every day, in your everyday job, in your everyday conversations, without trying to preach, because again, people shut down when you preach, when you're catastrophic, when you're not really listening. That's the thing. You need to listen to what they need, and then try and see how sustainability can help deliver that solution. I hope it makes sense. Hello, Abdul. Welcome. So, okay, so that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I hope it was in some ways helpful. This is my mission as Green Gorilla, as the Green Gorilla. This is what I want to do. I want to help you work through, the way you communicate with others, so the sustainability can become a no-brainer, not a barrier. That's the thing. If you want to sell sustainability, you need to see what barriers there are in front of you in the communication and knock them down. And the only thing to do that is by really understanding your audience and really trying and step into their shoes instead of still being in your shoes. So yeah, get in touch if you want to know more about this. This is something that, as I said, this is the mission of Green Gorilla. We do it for individuals, for graduates, we do it for companies. We help them communicate and sell sustainability on a daily basis. Again, I hope it was of some help. Do keep on commenting, because I will read the comments later on today, and I will try and answer. And if you do have other ways of approaching this, by any means, please tell me, as individuals, what can we do? As companies, what can we do? Because we need everyone to be on board in different ways, in different shapes, in the capacities that we have as different people. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye.